James, thank you for being here, man. It's I'm not gonna lie, I was not ready at all. I was just getting everything set up, but you text me like, "Hey, can we do it early?"
Yeah.
So that's good, man. That's good.
Always
but
early.
Welcome to the studio, man. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you like the setup.
Yeah.
I'm working on it, but it's good. It's going good so far. But how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate the opportunity for one. Like I said, this is definitely a different opportunity. I've never done a podcast. I've done like some other things through like the barbecue network and like the photography side, but never like personally talking about my story. So I'm definitely excited. Appreciate the opportunity.
No
the
problem.
follow on Instagram.
I know. Thank you.
It's been a while.
And yeah, the follow from you too. And it was weird because actually yesterday I did have a schedule podcast, but they canceled.
Yeah.
And then I posted on Instagram like, "Hey, who's available?"
Yeah.
And then it was your daughter's birthday, right?
Yeah.
How was that, man?
It was good. So obviously we'll talk about it more, but I went through a divorce.
Okay.
And so like right now, this is our first year of like, do we do two birthdays or do we do like one combined? And I was like, you know what? I'll just do one birthday with her. So we did a birthday. She's going to do another one Saturday with her mom. So invited some friends. We went bowling on Post.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was a good turnout because, you know, like through all of this, like the main priority was my kids, right? Like
Yes.
through the barbecue, through the photography, whatever it is, like my priority over everything is my kids for my job.
Yeah, and I think I did text you that yesterday, man, because
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, man, my rule is family first."
Absolutely.
Yeah, over everything. But that's good, man. So I'm happy that you guys had a great birthday and everything for your little one. But tell me more about you, James, because I actually again I was doing my research, but you text me like, "Hey, dude, I'm right here
No,
now."
you're good.
But you have an interesting story, man. But I want to touch base pretty much on everything because you mentioned that you are in the military, you're a photographer, you do barbecue and everything like that. So let's start with the barbecue kind of thing. How did you start that, I guess, career? Because I seen your videos too, and I love that you combine your photography, your videography with your other love and passion that is a barbecue. You do pretty legit like cinematic videos. So how that passion started?
So actually it's a funny story, like, because I've always cooked, right? Like, I think growing up, you know, and obviously I'll talk about my story. I like to jump around. So if I do that, just kind of direct me in the way. But, with the barbecue thing, how I started with the Instagram, we lived in Washington, JBLM. I was stationed up there a couple of years. It's probably about 4 years ago now. And, my neighbor, he was cooking on a barrel and I was like, "Hey man, like, what are you making?" He's like, "I'm making ribs." I was like, "Okay." So what happened? I was like, "You want to have a competition?" I have a slab of ribs. So I was like, "Let's have a competition." I was like, "Okay." And so he was like, "Dude, these are amazing." Actually, I ended up winning, but anyways, with the passion of that, I was like, "Hey, like," he's like my brother, because he was just visiting. He's like, "He's on this team," and I was like, "What do you mean? Like, what do you?" He's like, "Yeah, he's on Pit Barrel, and like this is what he does on Instagram, and this is the opportunities that arise." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I was thinking about like the non-money factor, you know what I mean? Because in any relationship or marriage, like finances are a big thing. So obviously, pouring all this money into something that really doesn't bring revenue in, but it just comes out. So it's like, sweet, I'm going to try it. And so I started from there, and it's literally been on my phone. I didn't have I didn't have a camera. I wasn't involved with the photography side, if that makes sense. It was just literally on my iPhone. And, I started there, and the passion, the creativity has always been there. I've always been like a guy to just do it and just do it and just do it as good as I can. You know what I mean? And, from there, the opportunities, I had a Traeger at the time, and, Traeger actually reached out. The director of marketing was like, "Hey, we want you on our team. We love what you're doing." And I was like, "This is a joke," and I actually deleted the message. Yeah, which is the funny thing, because they're a big market in the pellet side of the grilling opportunities. So, then my buddy's like, "No, dude, that's the director of marketing." So I rewrote him. I was like, "I'm so sorry." And then they scheduled a phone interview. And from there, that's just when the opportunities arise. Obviously with the military, like we'll talk about that more, but like the military, it's been hard to like juggle everything. Obviously we have passions, we have hobbies, but like in reality, what's the priority, right? So the bread maker is the military. So for me, it was like, I'm always going on missions. I'm always deploying. I'm always doing this. So like, where's the balance of like, can I commit to this? And then this is also when COVID started, 2019. So it was actually a good opportunity because when all that happened, I stayed home. You know what I mean?
And you didn't have any other thing to do, just to
exactly.
cook.
And cook, and then just be with my family because we were all together. Yeah. Now, the problem with that, right, is I put more focus on barbecue than I did my own family.
Okay.
And that was my fault. And I realized that. And so with that, obviously no marriage is perfect. And through the year of COVID, of where we were just kind of in a house together, it turned into blame game or whatever. Like, you're putting all this money. But with that the passion started getting better because I was putting all the love into that. And I finally ended up investing into a camera, little tripod, little things to do. And I was like, which direction am I going? And at that time, Instagram was all about photos. It wasn't like how it's going now toward video and Reels and TikTok and all the other social media platforms. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take photos and then do a YouTube video once a week and make goals and accomplish them. But at the end of the day, it was like, I loved the opportunities that were coming from companies, and like I didn't have to put out money.
Because at that point you were like kind of a sponsorship deal.
Yeah,
with
collaboration,
them, right?
sponsors, and like a lot of people are like, hey, if we send you this, can you make a post about it? And you're like, absolutely, damn. You know what I mean? And like obviously with the Trigger, they support me and I support them. Obviously not money wise, but with product wise. So that was good opportunities because at the end of the day, I wasn't spending money for the hobby that I loved. You know what I mean? Which I think everyone on YouTube or whatever, like that's their goal is to like have to have income coming in and not really out, if that makes sense.
Correct. Now, so that started your passion for barbecuing and everything like that. But what triggered the photography business?
So, funny you say that. So, I've always wanted to do more than just barbecue. I did more than food photography, right? So, because a lot of that was food photography, and then I started taking pictures of my kids, and I was like, I really love portrait photography. I'm not really a street photographer. Like I love that passion of it, but like for me, it's really seeing the smile on people's faces when I take a photo. Like when you show them the back of the camera and they're like, oh my God, like with food, you can't do that. Like I take a picture of a steak and they're not like, the steak's not like, hey, good job. I love that. You know what I mean? Like, so I think the reaction of it is what really sparked. Like I really wanted to go that way. And then also with the divorce comes child support, right? You have children. So for me, I had to figure out a way to make up that supplementary income to help, I guess, stack onto that, so I'm not struggling, you know, because growing up in my life, I struggled a lot, and we'll talk about that later probably. But the photography, I was like, the passion's there, the investment's there, and then I just got back from a 9-month rotation to Korea. I used that time to really heal myself, figure out myself, set goals for 2023 and the end of 2022 to really what I want to accomplish. So I got back in October, met an amazing group of people, like photography guys, and I was like, I'm going to go this way, and this is what I want to do. The barbecue side's still there, but my passion really is going to be for like portrait photography, going out there, do family portraits, maternity, whatever it is. Like the drive is there, and then like seeing the income come in as well, like building your portfolio. Just the initial drive I had from the barbecue is what I have now for the photography. So, and obviously combining them together, just great opportunities.
Yeah, so. Just amazing, man. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, because I had a chance to actually, because funny thing though, I don't know if you noticed, I've been following you on my photography page, but not on the podcast or my personal page. I just did the follow yesterday. But on the photography thing page or whatever, I saw that you actually take a lot of equipment, man, when you do the photo shoots.
I do.
I saw that you actually had your laptop and you are showing like a live feed from the pictures from your camera. Yeah. And man, I'm a solo guy, man. It's no one, like you can notice right here, I'm recording, setting up the cameras by myself. I have nobody that helps me as of right now. Absolutely. But do you have an assistant? Do you have someone that helps you out, or no?
It's all me. So with that, right? Like my philosophy is like I can take a camera. It doesn't take the best camera, the best lens or whatever to shoot an amazing photo. Like you can have a Polaroid and take an amazing photo. It's obviously understanding the art of photography, right? Now, with all my equipment, I invested into, so I'm going to use it. If it's getting a cart and rolling it downtown, that's what I'm going to do. But obviously, depending on what the shoot is, like if it's a family photo at night, I need flash, you know what I mean? So I'm going to bring the best. But with the tethering part, the reason why I do that is because I want the client and the family to see what I'm taking. You can see behind a camera, but if you show them on a laptop, really what I'm going to see, it kind of creates that interest. And obviously with the pricing and everything, like how photographers do, I do it way different. They pay per photo. And at the moment they're going to see, and they're going to be like, I'm in love. And that's with pre-edit, like not even edited or nothing. Exactly. So, and then you kind of drive an interest there, and then you more clientele. And then with all the equipment, people walking by like, hey, do you have a business card? And like all that stuff. And it just creates more attention, I guess, unless you have like an on-camera flash, which you can do it with ever. But for me, it's just more the philosophy of like, you see the most, like it creates that attraction too.
But that's smart though. Yeah. That's a great marketing, because you're promoting yourself with all the equipment and everything. Now, what happens though? Because I remember some of the days were like super windy, man. Yeah. Like I have a friend, Stephen Flores. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but amazing photographer and everything. But he had multiple lights like dropping, and the little bulb that goes inside, it's like
it broke or something.
It's like $200 just that one. When the whole setup is around like $400. So it's almost half the price. Do you have like some like something heavy to put on the equipment?
So, yeah, I have a heavy duty stand and also have a roller too, but I also use weights. Most of the time too, when you're photographing someone if you're taking a portrait or whatever, a picture of someone, they usually have other people there with them. So you're trying to get them involved and like just make a fun out of it. And then again, you adjust, right? So like if you know it's going to be windy, like I have to adjust my lighting, like go into it with a plan. Like I never will go to a shoot and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of have a plan where we're going to go, the shot, the end shot, whatever I want to do. And then I'm also like creative too at the moment. So like, hey, let's try this and let's try that and just have fun with it. So if I know it's going to be windy, I'll probably just bring like one light and a kicker light or whatever. But yeah.
Now, how many books do you have like per month so far?
So right now I'm obviously new. Like I'm new to this side. I just got back in El Paso right before I deployed. I moved here from Washington. So this is my second time in El Paso. So my ex-wife's family lives here. So I kind of know some people, but really at the end of the day, it's making a name for yourself. And I'm not trying to be like every other photographer. I'm trying to make a name for myself and so when people are like, hey, what type of photographer are you? I'm like, I'm everything, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to be. As a freelancer, obviously you kind of know you gotta be, you got to pull from every direction. You know what I mean?
You have to adjust.
Exactly. So like right now I'm working with companies to try to do their menu photos, and like, so because food photography creates opportunities, right?
Correct.
And then obviously the companies that you work with create even bigger opportunities. So working with that, and then just really just going out and making a name for yourself, like, hey, doing free shoots because you have to build that portfolio and that different type of style. Like boudoir, like I've never shot one of those. Like I've never done a bikini shot. Like I've always done like fully clothed and like family and like, so obviously just dipping into every like genre of like photography too. So
correct. Now, you touched base on social media, right? On Instagram, that we do agree that now Instagram is going more for reels, videos and stuff like that. And I noticed that you've been posting a little more videos and stuff like that now and then. But what's your thought on that? Because when I got into photography, like Instagram was the main social media app to show your work and to actually like get clients and stuff like that. But now that it's transitioning to another stuff, what are your thoughts?
So to be honest, like it's a person's preference, right? So like for me, I love photography. Like I love photos, still photos, but I also like the behind the scene type, like, you know what I'm saying? So if you do a video with the behind the scenes and then show that ending photo, like I think that's really cool. I've seen a lot of TikTok or even Instagram reels where they're like, this is me and this is I took this photo, and it shows them like doing the behind the scenes and then it shows the photo. I think that's cool. But in photography, like how do you capture that image of like, this is in the video, you know what I'm saying? So like, you see a lot of the guys around here that does video and photography, and like they do some crazy cooler stuff, and then it's like they intertwine that. So I like that, but I guess it's a personal preference. But algorithms are crazy. You got to be consistent. You know what I mean? And it's hard, especially if you have a full time job, like a family, like things that you have to do every single day. It's definitely tough. So.
That's my other question, James. How do you actually find time to balance everything? Because like you mentioned, you have your family, you are active military right now. By the way, thank you for your service, man. And photography, barbecuing, everything like that. You have a lot going on, man. So what do you do just to stay like consistent, like you said?
Passion. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to have passion, and you have to love what you do in order to do it. If you don't love what you do, you're never going to be happy. You know what I mean? Like my job, a lot of people will sit there and complain, but you got to find the happiness and the good part about it. Especially with photography, you got to find those positivities, because if you're negative, you're always going to be negative. If you surround yourself with positivity and positive people or like-minded people, that's like my philosophy. If I surround myself with people that love the same thing I do, I'm going to love the same thing I do for as long as I'm around them. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like, okay, photography. Okay, what's the next thing I can do? Barbecue. Okay. And then the barbecue thing is hard because obviously you got to get a lot of stuff to do it and then set up. But I have a couple of buddies out here that do it too. So we go to this house and like we just set it all up, have a content day where we create like weeks of stuff.
Oh, nice.
So that way we're not like pressured to like, okay, we got to get 3 things this week. Like I have things from like 3 years ago I'm still posting, you know what I'm saying? So it's nice. But especially with the photography thing, it's just the passion. With my kids, they're my main priority. So if my ex-wife's like, hey, I need you, I'll go. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, depending on what's going on. But I like with the custody thing, I only get them every other weekend, once a week. So I know that, like, I know my schedule for that. And then obviously with work. But yeah, I think for me, it's just the passion and the drive to want to be the best that you can be. Because growing up, it was just me. I moved out of my house when I was 12. I'll talk more about this, but I had nothing. You know what I'm saying? So for me, my goal is to look the best, to smell the best, to just try to be the best person I can be. And that's through a lot of error, like trial and error. Like I'm not perfect at all. I don't think anyone is. I think you have to fail to succeed. That's in any job, in any career, in any love, passion, whatever it is, you're always going to fail.
Correct. Now, we're gonna like put a hold on the photography business right now, but I'm glad that you mentioned like you move out at 12 and everything like that. So one of the things that you actually caught my eye when we were DMing like back and forth, it's like you mentioned like, hey, dude, yeah, I do have an interesting story all the way from when I was little and everything like that. So I do want to touch base on that. So at 12, man, that's just crazy because usually normal situation, it would be like, okay, I move out like at 18, 19, got my apartment and stuff like that and try to figure life out. But 12, man, you're a kid.
Yep. So it's just me, my sister. I have technically 2 sisters, but I call 3 because it's my half sister and her sister. But growing up, my last name is Greenleaf. Obviously, you can think for a reason like my family were drug addicts, alcoholics. I'm actually the 5th. Okay. So I'm named after 4 other Greenleafs, James Greenleafs. But yeah, so growing up, I lived pretty much on the streets. We moved from trailer to trailer to trailer. I've never had my own room until I joined the military, which is a fun fact because, Damn, never went to a dentist. I never went to a doctor.
Okay.
Because we didn't have it, you know what I mean? And then at 12, I kind of, before 12, I was running around the streets. I did skateboarding really hard. I was at the skate park every single day. I still went to school, obviously, because I had to, or else my mom would go to jail, but I really didn't care. But yeah, I just kind of struggled, to be real. I just kind of survived. I relied off my buddies, my friends, and their family that would take me in. I never had a Christmas unless it was with my friend's family. They'd bring me over for Christmas, give me. And it's not about the money. It's not about that. It's just like, at the end of the day, like it was just me and my sister. We took care of each other. My mom chose drugs over her family. Like my birthdays are never celebrated. Like, and I'm not trying to talk down on my family because I love them wholeheartedly, but it was tough. You know, at 10, 11, like, what do you do? You know what I mean? You go to school, come back on the bus, and your mom's passed out.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that, man, because, I mean, it looks like you had to mature at a super early age, not because you wanted to, but it was forced to be that way, that mentality and everything like that. But I just want you to run me, like, through a normal day back in the day. Like, okay, you'll get back from school and you'll see that kind of situation. Like at some point were you scared like something like out of control will happen, or you already went through that situations? Or
I'm kind of, so my goal in my life is to be a police officer. Like anytime I'd see a cop, I'd always be like, Mom, that's what I want to be. And actually I'm going to back up a little bit. When I was 7, so I have a dad, had a dad, he passed away. Okay. But I found out young when they left, I was born and then he left, you know, so I didn't have a father figure growing up. When I was 7 years old, my mom was like, you want to meet your dad? And I was like, yeah. And he lived in Reno, Nevada. I was from a southern Oregon town called Klamath Falls. We went to Reno, and I met him for 7 days. I spent 7 days with him. And then I went back to my grandma's in Bakersfield because I was born in Bakersfield, but we grew up in southern Oregon because I didn't have the money to travel. So I literally stayed in southern Oregon my whole life. And then obviously travel for like sports and stuff. But after the 7 days, I got a call the next day after I left and my dad died.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was construction working. He was going to come see us the next day, come down to California. And then my grandma got a call that he passed away. He was construction working, fell, and died instantly. So, but with that, the opportunity to actually meet my dad and like understand who he was. I was 7 years old. You know what I mean? So how much do you really remember? But we have some pictures together, which is nice. And then, so fast forward to 12, right? I moved out. I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm gonna go take care of myself. I was actually a DJ at a local skating rink.
Oh, damn.
And they knew my story. They knew like kind of the struggle I was happening. And this family took me in. Her name was Kelly and her son was Chris. He was 6. So I was babysitting them. And then they took me to Disneyland because they like knew like I'd never been. So we went to Disneyland. They're like, hey, you want to live with us? And I was like, yeah. So for 3 years, I believe, I stayed with them. I went to school. She like bathed me, not like literally, but like gave me a roof over my head to like be okay, you know? I was still a DJ. At 15 years old, my goal obviously was to be a police officer. And I was skipping class one day, and the school resource officer caught me. He was like, what are you doing? So he pulled me in, had this little conversation like we are right now. And he's like, what's your goals? Like, what do you want to do when you graduate? If you graduate.
Correct.
And I was like, I want to join the Army because I want to be a cop. Because in order to be a cop, most of the days you have to have either a college degree or military service. And so he's like, okay, you know, we have a thing called an Explore program. And I was like, no, I didn't. Like, obviously I was like this little skater punk. I thought I was the best. And I was really good at skating, to be real. And so I joined the Explore program, and he became like my dad, like my mentor. He kind of understood like the life I was having. And he went from school resource officer back to the streets. to become a patrol officer. So I rode with him, and like I call him my dad to this day. We had matching tattoos, and he's finally retired. But yeah, he's like my mentor and my life. You know what I mean? From 12 to 18 when I left.
Yeah.
But one night, here's the crazy story. So I tried joining the Army, and you know, you go down to MEPS and you're doing everything, you're doing the processing. And they're like, if you lie, you can go to jail. They like try to scare you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've always had this bump on my right ankle, and I'm always like, maybe it's from like I broke my ankle like when I was skating, but I didn't have insurance, so like it just healed wrong or whatever. And so I was like, yes, because like on the one question, do you have a deformity or any type of like, because they're gonna do a full exam, and I was like, yes, because I was super scared. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey man, you got to go back to we're gonna deny you right now, but it's not the end of the world. Go back to your hometown, get a waiver, and submit it. And I was like, crap. Damn, I don't have insurance. I don't know what this is. So I ended up, my girlfriend at the time, her dad was an orthopedic surgeon. So I went there to the orthopedic place. I think that's what you call it. And he took an x-ray of my ankle, and it actually ended up being a tumor.
Oh, shit.
A benign tumor. It wasn't cancerous, which thank God. But so they didn't do operation because obviously I didn't have insurance. So like, well, we can try to do it. I'm like, no, like I'm not going to join the Army. Like all my goals in my life were ruined. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was like, started crying. You know, I called my dad and I was like, I don't know what to do. And at this point, I'm still hopping from house to house. I'm not moved back with my mom. I left that lady's house that brought me in. I'm still jumping around. And my recruiter's like, why do you should have just said no. And I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm like struggling right now because I don't know what to do. So I got a job. I worked at a farm feed store because obviously Southern Oregon is like a country. Yeah. Yeah. So I did a farm feed store. And then on patrol one night, here's the twist. I got stabbed in the shin by my dad's. I was taking the bag to the patrol car, and there was a little knife on the side, and it stabbed me in my shin. And they rushed me to the hospital. And I'm telling this doctor my story, like the ER doctor. And he's like, what's your story? Like, what's going on? And I told him. And in my discharge paperwork was a note to send to MEPS. And it said, like, you are clear. There's nothing. I was like, this is all I need. And he wrote me a note. And a week later, I was on a bus down to MEPS, swearing in and joining the military.
Damn, James.
Yeah. So that's like the crazy part, because if that didn't happen, I don't know where I'd be in life. Yeah. Right, you know what I'm saying? And my first duty station was El Paso, Texas. This was back in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. First, I got to El Paso, and I never left the country, like not the country, but the state of Oregon. Besides going to Nevada, correct. Like in that little 4-state area, that's all I've been. And I didn't know people don't pump your gas here, because in Oregon people pump your gas.
Oh, and, shoot. Okay.
I got here. I was that private that went and bought the most expensive car, and I drove up to a pump, and I was like waiting and see people. I'm like, what the heck? Because growing up I didn't have a car, so like I didn't know what to do. And yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. I was like, you guys gonna come up? They're like, sir, where are you from? I was like, Oregon. They're like, yeah, we don't do that here. I'm like,
okay. Damn, that's crazy, dude.
I feel like
now. Are you a believer like in God and stuff like that? Okay, yes. So yeah. I'm just gonna ask you 2 questions. Question number 1: what got you to not like fall into the drug world situation? Bucket.
That's a good question.
Let's be honest. Like you didn't have any better situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had your friends skateboarding and everything, but you were in the streets, man. And your mom was like a drug addict, like you said, and everything. So you didn't have a better example. So what got you to pretty much like, you know what? I'm not gonna go that route because I want to accomplish something in my life.
I think that's the biggest thing, is accomplishing something in my life, and I can't do that if I'm addicted to all these things. And I think for me, it's not that. I could smoke, I could drink, I could do all that. But the problem for me is like, I'm afraid I'm going to be my family. I'm afraid I'm going to turn into them. When I was like 10, maybe 9, my mom forced me to smoke weed with her.
Oh, shit.
Obviously you can't force someone, but I was like, I'll try it. You know what I mean? Like here. And I'm like, and I thought I was going to die. Like not even kidding. So I think from that moment on, I was like, I'm never going to do any of this. Like beer doesn't sound good to me because I was forced to drink it when I was probably 5 years old by my uncle.
Okay.
So I think for me, it's just the deterrence of like, I don't want to become someone I'm not. And to do something with my life. I'm the only person in my family besides maybe 1 or 2 that's actually graduated high school that's actually doing something with their life. 3 years ago, I actually lost my mother.
Okay.
To all the drugs catching up to her. You know what I'm saying? So it's been pretty tough. But
did you ever had that conversation with your mom, man? Actually, before she passed and everything like that, like it was ever like I'm sorry, man, or did you had a conversation on that game? I'm sorry, I walk out on you at 12. And of course, I mean, again, you didn't know better. You wanted to better yourself and your life. But I'm pretty sure it was a tough situation for you too at 12, deciding on, okay, you know what? I want to make something out of my life, or should I stay with my mom? Because I'm going to be honest with you, like the situation and the odds, if you stayed back then, it was not good.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because when I got married in 13, 14, I don't remember. 2014, I got married. Her and my mom didn't like each other because my ex-wife was a pastor's kid.
Okay.
So coming from like a drug addict family, like they looked down on that. So they never had a good attitude or relationship because I would send money to my mom. Like she'd be like, I need a job. I need some clothes for this interview. I'm like, yeah, but in reality, she would never send me a picture of it. Like, and it wasn't about that. I was just trying to be supportive as much as I can. So I tried having a relationship with her, but my mom was very selfish. Like she was very like, I'm proud of you, son. But like at the end of the day, it's like, I just need you to help me. And it's like, it was very tough. I might get emotional. I'm sorry. But the day before she passed away, I had a very heart-to-heart conversation with her. Like I feel like she knew she was going to pass away because she was in a hospice home. She had diabetes. They cut off her feet because of like, what happens with diabetes most of the time if you don't take care of yourself. We had a heart-to-heart conversation, and I was just like, I'm about to get divorced because I was going through stuff right there. And I just want you to know I love you. And like, it was very tough. You know what I'm saying? And the next morning we got the call that she was found dead. But they brought her back. But she was out so long that she was brain dead. And so my ex-wife was like very supportive at that time. So we went down there, and like my grandma was there. My grandma was 20 years. So we're all 20 years apart. So I'm 30 now. My mom would be 50 and my grandma would be 70. So it's like, it was all 20 years apart. It was pretty cool. My mom never met. I have 3 children, by the way. I have a 7. My daughter just turned 6 yesterday, and I have a 3-year-old. But my mom has never met my youngest. She's met the older 2, but never the youngest. And so they took the tubes out because they're like, hey, there's nothing else we can do. Like, we can make her comfortable. And my grandma was having a very hard time because my uncle, the one I was telling you that made me drink alcohol, he actually passed away about 15 years ago. He got killed by the police.
Oh, wow.
And so this was her last child alive, you know what I mean? So it was very tough for her. So me and my sister came together. We all went down there and met, and we brought my grandma in. We all did our prayer and like talking to her because she would open her eyes, but it was like, it wouldn't be like the stare that we're looking at right now. Yeah, exactly. It was tough because like I just had this conversation of like moving forward with my mom and like trying to create that relationship. And it was very tough. And then so I brought my son in, my youngest, and it was crazy because like at that moment I know she was there kind of because she looked right at him, and then like kind of went back to her, like, you know what I mean? It was like that spark. She was only supposed to last 24 hours, but she ended up lasting like 7 days. Okay. Now here's the twist. I left. My grandma went to the ICU the day before because she like was being delusional and couldn't breathe. Because obviously she was like, my daughter's about to die, you know? So they took us to this hospice place. They got my mom comfortable. The day before I left, because I had to come back because the military only gives you so many days, we said goodbye to my grandma. My grandma was like, Brittany, that's my ex-wife's name. Do not hurt my son, like my grandson, blah, blah, blah. And I went and said goodbye to my mom, gave her like my name tape and stuff. And then an hour later when we left, my mom died. So we get home. 2 days later, I got a call that my grandma died.
Damn.
But they said she died from a broken heart, which I believe.
Yes.
You know, so yeah. So I lost my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and then my great grandma just died. Like it's been a tough life.
So let me ask you this, man, because it's so impressive to me, man. And it's like you are a really positive guy, man. The day that we just met today, but since I watch your work and how you post stories and everything, I would never believe that you went through something like that, man. You are super, super positive. But what was that, like your mentality, man, and your mental health through that situation? Because you had like 2-3 losses like in a row, man. Yeah. And then you just mentioned that you were going through a divorce too. So
literally right after.
Yeah. So where were you in that mental state, man?
Some very like positive, like you said. I try not to think about negative things. Like I think there's a purpose for everything, right? Like I think obviously if you believe in something, there's a purpose for everything. Like so we separated. She moved to El Paso because that's where her family was. But in reality, she actually left me for her high school boyfriend. Oh. And so when I came back, like my kids were already around him, and like it was very a blunt force trauma. And most people would go cry or kill themselves because it's a lot. It was a lot. I still cry to this day, but I'm very hard shelled because of how I grew up, and I kind of had to wear my emotions on a sleeve. I'm a very emotional person. Like I've been through, like you said, hell and back, right? But at the end of the day, my kids are my life, and with everything, if my mom passes away, like there's a reason for it, you know. She's no longer in pain. I don't have to deal with like making sure she's okay. Now that sounds selfish to me, right? But it grew me and my sister closer because we didn't really have a great relationship, but now we call each other because that's all we got. It's just me and my sister. And so dating was like a weird thing too. Like I tried dating and then I'm always like, oh, I can't do this because I already knew what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Plus I'm 30 years old and I can't have any more children because I had surgery for that. So like a lot of people like, they don't want a guy that's 29 that can't have kids because at that age, like people I'm dating my age want kids. Yeah. And now I have 3 kids that on top of that. And like, it's been very difficult, but to answer your question, it's just the positivity. I try not to think about it, to be real. I just kind of push it to the side. And then there's some times where it boils over and I just like, I release and I just have to cry. But once I'm pretty good with that. I'm very resilient. Like I have a lot of distractions, if that makes sense. I try to do so many things to keep my mind off of the negative stuff of that.
I was about to ask you that. Do you think you are that busy because you really don't want to like take a break and think about that stuff or those situations?
Yeah, I just try. But at the end of the day, I think my overall goal is just to leave a legacy for my kids. And it's not even about money. It's not about anything. But if I can make an impact on one person before I leave this earth, that's all that matters to me. And it could be a positive or negative. Hopefully not negative, but I don't want my name to be like, this guy is not real. I'm always myself. I'll never change. When my numbers on Instagram started going up, I never changed who I was on the barbecue side. Nice. Because we all start somewhere, right? We all start at that 0 followers. Obviously that one, it might be your family, friend or whatever, but we all start somewhere and we have to be humble in the process. And a lot of people change as the numbers get bigger because they're not humble. And so for me, like I said, I surround myself with positive people and like-minded people. And then I feel myself, you know, when I start surrounding myself with negative people and like people that talk just down on people, I start to feel myself slip, like get into that negative, like, well, and I start judging and I'm not a judgmental person. Like a pass is a pass for a reason and we move forward day by day. And that's my
man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard, man. It's very hard. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's just achieving goals and like making new goals. It's never ending. It's never ending.
Now, do you think your story will be different if you didn't have kids?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have been married so long. I think I held on and she knows. So if she watches this, she knows. I held on because I was so complacent with having a family because I didn't have that growing up or my kids not having their father around. Like I think I held on for so long and no relationship's perfect. But through that, like I said earlier, we all have to fail to be successful, right? So like obviously now my mindset's totally different on a relationship and I've definitely healed. I've definitely found myself again and like my worth and just all that stuff. So definitely it definitely would be totally different, to be real. Now, we've actually had conversations about that too, which is crazy.
Nice. Yeah. But how long it took you though to find yourself again?
Couple years.
Yeah,
it wasn't like I tried dating like right away and just to kind of keep my mind off of that because I was still holding on to something that was already gone, you know what I mean? And like I think some people do that. They'll hold on for something for so long. And it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be any situation in life. They hold on for so long and then they just keep getting depressed and like they just keep worrying about it. But you can't worry about something you have no control of. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, it was like I'm about to deploy. I was like, sweet. I'm going to use this opportunity to grow myself and just really focus and figure out my life. So when I get back to El Paso, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly the direction I want to go. And that's what I did. I got back and met an amazing woman. So we're doing good.
Is she also military or
nothing? She's from here.
Okay. Nice. Now, let me ask you this real quick. When did God actually was like introduced into your life and in general, I think faith. Yeah. What was that?
I think growing up, I've always like people were like the people I would hang out with, my buddies and their families would take me to church. But I think I was always hesitant because like I was dealing with so much that like that wasn't my priority and I just didn't understand. And then when I got married, her dad was a pastor, so he's like, hey, before you guys get married, before you get my blessing, you have to do this, this, and this. And there was one day I was at church with him, and like there was just a shockwave through me, and I was like, I need to get up, and I just started crying, and I was praying, and like all my stress and relief just went away. And I love to sing. Like no one probably understands that, but I'm a very like I love to sing, and so I was in choir most of my like high school my high school time, and so I actually ended up joining the worship team there. Nice. But obviously I deployed like right after that. We ended up going to Fort Hood, and I deployed to Iraq, did all that, and then came back. And then in Washington, I had the other opportunity at our church to be a worship leader. So I helped lead worship sometimes and just be like a background vocal and stuff too. So, but definitely when I got married, or the pre-marriage, like for the year before that, we had to do all that stuff. Is really where it was introduced. And it wasn't forced. Like some people like, you but can't marry my daughter unless you're religious. And it wasn't forced. It was actually like a wanted feeling. Now, do I still practice it? That's the question too. I do. But like it's not as much as I was because I have so much on my plate that I still go to church. I still believe and like, but everyone has their own opinion too. So I don't ever talk politics. I don't ever talk religion, especially in the military. That's like our rule because it creates so much controversy and like thoughts on people. And like mine is a first impression is the lasting impression. So if I come and like, hey man, what's up? Oh, what you're doing is ungodly. You're like, you know what I mean? I've never judged someone either. So I just kind of, if people ask, I tell them and yeah.
Were you ever like question your fate, especially everything like you went through and everything like that, especially when these families like that took you in, right, will take you to church and everything? Yeah. Were you in that mentality like, why me? Like, why God? Like, I'm going through all this stuff and they're telling me to believe in you, but you're not showing me. And again, back then, maybe he was showing you a way. He was making you tough, right? But we don't see it that way because we are not in the right mentality. Yeah. But did you ever question yourself that?
I think everyone questions themselves in general. Like, is this the purpose that I'm here on earth for? Or like, so for me, it's like, I have to remember there's a reason for everything. If I just sit there and like hold on to something, like I said, like I'm just going to drive myself crazy. So I could sit here and be like, why did she leave me? Like, what did I do? And start the selfishness out of that. Right. But in reality, I think if there's a purpose for everything, if one of my kids pass away, which would suck, and I hope, God bless, hopefully not, there's a purpose for that, right? And I can't control the uncontrollable. I think a lot of people try to do that. They try to control something they can't control, and then it just causes even more chaos or like more destruction. So I live every day just kind of with the what ifs, and like I don't live in the what ifs, but what if something happens? You know what I mean? Like I can't control that, and if I do, then it just causes more destruction. So I think growing up, I've always questioned why something happens, but I just kind of say that and then I just throw it to the side. Because if I sit there, I'm just going to eat myself up. You know what I mean? And then I might say some things I don't mean or do some things I probably don't want to do. But growing up, like I said, my goal was to be a cop. I joined the Army. I was like, yes, I finally can do it. And the consistency of what the military brings, like with money and like, it's not great money, but it was enough to provide for my family. I think that's why I always stayed. And then obviously now I'm going to have to retire because with child support, I can't just get out. But building that foundation of what I'm going to do when I do get out is kind of where I'm at right now. So.
Perfect. And do you want to like do photography for the long term, or what are your goals when it comes to the photography thing?
Yeah. So my 2023 vision or like goal was to fully go into photography, create the LLC, really go into it. And I think it's for me, like I said, it's the passion of it. And just, it's not really about the money. Like the money is great if you create a base of like clientele and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like seeing the passion, seeing what others comment on your things too. Like that was an amazing photo. Like maybe this is what I've done, but like the criticism and like just having that network is what I love, especially in the barbecue side. There's so many, you think it's big, but in reality, like a lot of people know a lot of people because it's such a small network, especially with photography. Like everyone knows everyone, but in reality, if we're not a part of that, we just think, oh, everyone's a photographer. There's so many, but in reality, there's so many people that do different things that you can network with each other and continue to learn. I think a lot of people, if they say they're perfect or they're the best, they're not the best. We continue to learn every single day. Like even with barbecue, I'm continuing to learn like how to sous vide or like bake or do desserts or, you know what I'm saying? It's a never ending process and people get complacent.
Yeah, they do a lot, especially. Well, let me ask you this too. Like, what the big difference that you noticed, like from Washington over here to Texas? I'm sure the state is the first thing. Like, we're a freaking big state, but other than that, like the culture and everything like that, what's the little things that you have noticed?
Obviously, Mexican food here and seafood up there, because obviously the Pacific Ocean's right there, and definitely the weather. It's green up there and it's brown down here. So, and I already been to El Paso too. So I kind of already understood what was going to happen. And I have a couple buddies here that were barbecue guys. Cause remember, I didn't go full-time photography until I came here.
Correct.
So my focus was obviously barbecue and then get this divorce over with and figure out my life. And then I found out I was deploying. So I deployed and then now I'm back and better than ever. But yeah, definitely it's definitely different. A lot liberal up there. Down here, obviously not so much, unless depending on obviously who you know. But it's not bad. It's not bad. The culture is definitely different. And that's what the cool thing about Korea. Like I learned a different culture, different food style. And like now I have like a big passion for noodles and like Korean food and stuff. It's really cool.
Nice, man. Yeah. Now, I love your work, man, because it's one of a kind, especially like I said, combining. Because I don't know if you know who Peter McCanyon is. Yeah, perfect. So I followed that guy since the beginning when he was doing like videos in his bedroom and stuff like that, right? But he transitioned to a kind of photo to a video kind of guy. Yeah. And I love that he always tells like people, right, that watch, like, hey, if you can combine your passions, do it. So that's something that you're doing, man. You're combining your barbecuing with your photography. Yeah. And I think it was like I think it was December when you guys, your buddies got together to barbecue, but you actually did a photo shoot session. Yeah. That was
with
amazing,
the Halloween? Yeah. That was in October. October, with the Michael Myers guy.
There you go, man. So what was that experience, man? Because again, I don't know if your buddies are down like, hey, dude, let's just do a photo shoot right now too. Yeah.
Well, so I just got back, right? Like I think I got back that week that we did it. Okay. And I invested in all this, like, because I've always done natural light. And I was like, I really want to get into the flash. And so I bought like my main soft light and a kicker light with my V1. And I was like, I have some gel fillers. And then he's like, my buddy's the El Paso Michael Myers guy. He's like, he's going to come over. I was like, sweet, let's do a photo shoot. So we cooked all this food.
Wait, who's that guy?
I'd have to find out his name, but Grumpy 915, I believe is.
Dude, Edgar, what's up, bro?
Yeah, Edgar,
so I did a video because Edgar used to work for my buddy Steven Flores for the little like restaurant that they had at the gas station. So
when they would do like their little thing,
So that guy, I remember they started, and I used to work with Edgar.
Okay,
at Verizon. Yeah, so then I did the video when we worked at Alamo. We worked with them, and then I did the video for that. Steven Flores did the photo shoot for them. It was just it's
funny.
It's a small world, man. Yeah, it's a small world.
Yeah, so he's like, he's gonna come over, and if you want to do a photo shoot, let's do it. And I was like, heck yeah. I was like, I got a red gel filler. I was like, because obviously Jealous Devil, which is a truck company, myself and Albert Taco Killer, we're both on that team. So we did that, and then with obviously like the ribs and the beef rib, we're just having fun with it, being creative. I think that not having a plan and just being creative in the spot. So I was like, let's throw a red filler. Let's bring the barrel over, like have him look in. And he was all down. And then obviously he ate at the end. So nice. It was fun. But that's what I'm saying. You surround yourself with people that are creative and like-minded. You can come up with anything and you just have fun doing it. It's not even about the end result. It could be the crappiest photos, but you're having fun doing it. You know what I mean? And you make it fun. Yeah. If you're just like a photographer that's just like, okay, turn, like you got to make it fun, like have fun and like, but yeah, it was very fun.
Now, so you're doing all this, man, and you mentioned that you were a natural guy when it comes to natural light, right? Yeah. I used to be like that, man, too. So when I got into flash lighting and everything, it's a different world, man. So what was your experience when you actually were like trying to learn, like your ISO needs to be lower because now you have a light and your composition needs to be perfect in order for the shadows and everything. So did you had like a not problem, but like struggle to understand that lighting?
I wouldn't say. Obviously, everything's a struggle. You got to learn and master your craft, right? I watched a lot of YouTube. Like I learned a lot, like the camp acronym, like composition, ambient light. So I did all that, and then when I got back, obviously you need people to shoot. So I was like, let's do it, and then trial and error. And I think I'm still not perfect. Like there's still a lot to learn. But I have great mentors that have done it for years. David Parrish, he's one of my mentors, really good buddy. So if I have any questions, I'm always like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah. How do I do this? So I think you're just doing it. A lot of people can sit back and like, I want to do this, but are you doing it? That's the biggest thing. So we can talk all the talk, but are you really walking the walk? And that's like in relationships, like, oh, you could say all this stuff, but I want to see it. Like action means everything, right? So I was like, I'm going to get all this stuff, and are you actually going to use it? I'm like, yes, right. I'm going to use it. So I get back, and like, I think actually that was the first time I ever used it. Like set it up. I was like, let's do it. And then understanding light too. Pro EDU is a software online, just studying. You're continuing to learn. It's like in anything, you're always learning. So it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle, but I'm not showing that as struggling. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So.
No, but that's good, man. And then you mentioned that you register already the business, right? LLC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's official, man. Because I remember, and it's so funny because you and I had like similar stories, man. Also, like my family, and I haven't shared my story to be honest with you. And I've been doing the podcast.
We should switch. I got you.
You should ask me stuff, but yeah, it's super similar, man. But Now it's official, because when I registered the business as an LLC, it all of a sudden hit me like, damn, dude, like now it's official. Now taxes, everything. Now I have to make sure to be consistent, making bookings and everything like that. So I know you mentioned that you want to do this full time, but what are your actual goals when it comes to the business photography?
Just being the best that I can be. Obviously, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen because photography is very competitive, you know what I mean? So just continuing to make a name, be humble in the process, and create those relationships with people that, you know, if they can't do it, they refer me because they love my work too. So, and just being creative and inspiring people, you know, that's all it's about.
That's true, man.
And that's through your actions, through your photography, through who you are and how you present yourself. A first impression is a lasting impression, right? That's what I go off of. So if I'm meeting a client just to do like a one-on-one consultation, like I'm going to be myself. I'm never going to change who I am to please someone else. And I think that's a goal. I know I keep hitting on that, but I will never change who I am.
No, that's good, man, because you have to be you.
Exactly.
And people tend to notice when you're faking it, and it's super like, it's good to be real, man. Now, I'm excited too, man, because you're actually the first photographer that I have in my podcast ever. I always have models and everything like that, but never like an actual photographer. So I'm curious to ask you, like, what's your process like from finish, like from beginning to end, when it comes to meeting the client, to make sure you guys sing with the outfits, the location, and everything like that?
So obviously a lot of my stuff right now has just been collabs. I've done some like paid work and stuff too. But a lot of it, it's like I'll do a consultation, I'll capture their vision, and I'll be like, can I do this or not? Can I not do it? But most of the time, most photographers can do it. But like I'll have them bring like photos and stuff like, hey, what's your inspiration? Because I'm not trying to be like that photo, but I'm trying to get my own twist to it. So it just depends, like, and obviously depending on what we're doing, are we doing like is it going to be food? Is it going to be like, I did a bike up in Albuquerque. Is it going to be like a model? Is it going to be a family? So you kind of have to adjust to what you're going to do. I did that family photo. It's one of my good buddies, Jeff. He just moved here from Hawaii. He's like, hey, I want to do some family photos. I met him when I was a private in El Paso the first time. Nice. So, and he's a photographer as well. And I was like, hey, man, yeah. And so you practice what you preach. And I was like, hey, meet me here. Here's our consultation. And I said, this is how much it's going to be, which was free because he's my buddy. He's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Like, so that was pretty cool. Because like I just want to get back. Like that's the biggest thing. Like my heart is so big, man. Like I hate when people ask how much it is. I'm like, well, you know, to be like, I feel bad, but in reality, like it's a business. You have to make money off of it. You can't just do everything for free. Correct. And that's something I got to get out of the mindset. Like not everyone wants things for free. So I'm like, just give me a tip, you know, it is what it is. But I think just capturing their vision is the biggest thing. And like, that's why I love having the laptop there. Cause I don't know if you looked in the video, I don't think I had sound, but the mom was like, oh my God, you know? And if I just show the camera, it's like such a small, like screen on the back of your camera. They're just like, yeah, it looks great. But when you have your laptop out there and like they see the actual pre-edit version, they love it. So I think just capturing their vision, this type of style that they want, and then just in reality making sure they're happy. Like a happy client, it's like a happy wife is a happy life. Happy client's a happy business. You know what I'm saying? And then you get refers from that too. So
now your editing process, man, like how long do you take? Of course, I understand it all depends on the kind of shoot and everything like that, but it got to a point in my career, man, that I actually was enjoying more editing than taking the pictures.
Really?
But have you been in that situation? Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I love the process, right? And now I'm getting into, because here's the thing, too. When I registered my business as an LLC now, I was like, damn. And now I have to stand out because, like you said, there's a lot of us here in El Paso, but technically we still a small community if it makes sense.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of people. Also, I had a conversation with my good buddy, also Steven, that, dude, like I'm charging this much and I think I have a good quality of work, but then another photographer charging less, like 50% less, and people are going with them.
Yeah.
But I had to realize, like you said, it's a business. I have to stick to my prices and everything because there's a process that we have to do, editing and everything. Absolutely. So back to my main point, I'm sorry, but when we got to the LLC part, like now I was like, damn. So I need to make sure that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I want this business to be my main source of income.
Absolutely.
So I have to really not make myself, but really to start enjoying the process again.
Absolutely.
And now I love like the taking pictures, going to locations, making sure the angle is right and everything.
Yep.
But again, back in the day when I started, I was like, damn, I wish like I had a second shooter, just go and then. But now I understand as I mature in the business, like, hey, no, it's my freaking vision. I have to make sure that the product that I'm going to deliver, it's me, my product, my style, right? But have you ever been in that situation? Like, damn, dude, like I might hire an editor later on that will edit my work for me or stuff like that.
No.
Damn. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not a specific style, right? Like you asked me like what, why, you didn't ask me, but I brought it up. Like I'm not one lane. I'm like on all of everything. So when I sit with them, like the vision, right? We talked about vision. Like, do they want a bright? I'm like a very like dark dramatic guy. Like I love that. Like the subject is the main focus, not really the background. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people focus like, I love this area because you get to see this. And it's like, well, do you want us to focus on that or do you want to focus on you? You know what I mean? Like what is the overall goal? And you just talked about pricing, man. Like that was my thing. Like how much do I charge? Like how much do I think is reasonable for your time? And I talked to my buddy, my mentor, and I was like, I want to create packages. I want to do this. He's like, don't do that. You're wasting your time. You're wasting everyone's time. I was like, what do you mean? And so I created a concept of how I charge. Like I don't waste my time. I do the photos. We pick them on the spot and I edit those photos and they pay per photo.
Okay.
So they pay for my time and they pay per the photo. And obviously that's a paid gig, right? Yeah. So I've done a couple of those like family photos. We did a Christmas one with my buddies. But yeah, it's hard. It's very hard, man. Because you said like some people were like charge less, but you got to think like your work, right, is what you put out.
Nice, man. Now, just to start wrapping up this episode, man, what it's something that you want people to know about you, man, especially being in this technically like a small town, right, El Paso, but something that they don't know about you.
That's a good question, man. I don't even know. Definitely something about me. I'm just very patient. I'm very humble in the process, and like I work with you, I guess, if you want to say. I really don't know the question, to be honest, the answer to that question, but I think I'm just who I am, and I'm very humble, like very positive, and like I want to capture the vision of people. So if you come to me, obviously we'll try to capture that, and we'll work with you. When I say me, it's just me, you know. Yeah.
Nice, man. Now,
there's a lot to it. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's a good question, man. Yeah. And I'm sure that question will evolve and will transform. Sure. Yeah.
Didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Right. Now, where can they find you, man? I know you have an Instagram for sure, but do you have a website? Do you have anything else?
So I did that website, but I kind of paused that because obviously I was gone for so long. I still need to recreate it for the photography side. I have one for the barbecue, but just greenleaf.bbq and then greenleaf.photography_. Those are my two main, and then obviously like YouTube. I'm not really pushing YouTube for the barbecue side so much, but those are my two main for sure.
Gotcha, man. So, anything else that you want to tell the El Paso community or photographer community?
No, I've been very blessed with the people I'm surrounded with, and I'm excited to grow, excited to like get my name out there and just continue to learn. I think we all learn, and then like I said, be humble in the process. If you are a photographer or anything you do, just be humble in the process and don't forget where you started.
Perfect, man. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. James, I'm pretty sure we're going to have like a part 2 because there's a lot of more topics that we need to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Man, thank you. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, man. It was great meeting you guys. And then, I'm excited. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. See you guys in the next one.